we just hit the ground running. We had interest right away, and it was small. The first year was 125 people in total. And in the conference industry, you hear that 125 people make a tribe. And if you can get a tribe,
sure.
you can grow from there. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. We in our first year were very lucky to put together a phenomenal advisory board, many of whom have stayed with us all these years. I was very keen on a couple of things. One, I wanted to make sure that we were hearing not just from people in senior living, but from industry experts, because of what I'd heard, that people didn't even know what they were spending their money on. I felt topic expertise was going to be really critical. So 80% of our speakers still really are topic experts or authors or writers, podcasters, like people who really are very, very knowledgeable within whatever they do, whether it's SEO or PPC or now, in this no-click environment, et cetera.
Sure.
And but we still keep a nice big wide open space for people within the industry, our solution partners, who are I believe the greatest thought leaders in the industry. They have, I always say to our providers, they have aggregate information over 200 communities that you can't, if you don't engage them in that conversation and try and understand whatever their tool is and how that's working for hundreds of others, like, you are missing out on a big part of the kind of education that's available at Smash by people just being able to talk to each other.
Let's go.
Welcome to The Move-In, a senior living marketing podcast from Unlock Health, a full-service marketing partner for the aging services industry. Join us for candid conversations exploring the latest marketing strategies with the senior living community leaders and innovative solution partners who are moving our industry forward. Together, we'll build a community to build better communities. As senior living marketing keeps shifting so quickly, where do you go to stay ahead of the curve? Hello, I'm Larry Williams, and welcome to the Move-In Senior Living Marketing, powered by Unlock Health. For many of us, staying ahead means leaning into our community, sharing strategies, learning from peers, and finding inspiration at places like the Smash Conference. That's why I was excited about today's conversation with Bailey Beeken, the Senior Director of Smash, who joined us to explore how this event has become the hub for collaboration, fresh ideas, and thought leadership that pushes our industry forward. In this episode, we discussed the origin and growth of Smash, from 125 attendees to becoming the premier senior living marketing conference, and how Smash fosters a unique community built on open sharing and collaboration across the industry. In this year's focus on AI, data, and storytelling to equip marketers for the no-click digital world. Let's dive into it. We are on the move in senior living marketing. We got Bailey Beeken with us today. Bailey is the Senior Director and Managing Director of the Smash Conference. Did I say that correctly, Bailey?
You did it, in fact. Yes.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I've known Bailey for a few years now, and I feel like when I get to see you, it's in passing at the Smash Conference, and I never get to actually chat with you because we're constantly going in different directions. So first, thank you for joining this podcast and learning more about the Smash Conference. But I just look forward to really getting to chat with you as a person in a place where we can actually have a conversation instead of going different ways at a coffee shop.
Yeah, everyone is moving fast and going in different directions at Smash, that's for sure. And thank you so much for asking me to be on the Move-In. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm excited. I've been excited about this conversation. So, Smash is a big part of what we do at Unlock Health. And I always tell everybody it's the Super Bowl of the senior living marketing conferences. If this is where you really want to make I would say a splash, but it's where you really want to connect, because this is the chance where you get to learn a lot. You get to have some great networking opportunity. It's just the best place to come together. And so I thought it was really important to have this conversation with you before we look at the conference in October. I appreciate you having that on your signature line right there. It's October 20th through the 22nd. And I'd like to kind of, hear what your perspective is as we get closer to the conference in October. So again, thanks for joining us today. If you don't mind me just starting off the conversation, I'd like to hear more about your history with the conference and how you've gotten to this point.
So I've been in event and conference planning my entire career, which is decades long. I won't say how many, but decades long. And I ended up at Lincoln Healthcare, which is an event and research company that does a few events in senior housing and senior care for CEOs. And it was a really different model than I was used to. And I know that's a weird word to use for an event, but it was David Ellis, who's president and founder of that company, had not come from the conference industry. So he was doing some really interesting things. And by interesting to me, that meant very, very high touch, very really putting people together to have important conversations. And I was there for almost 3 years and launched an event for him in senior living, and ran another event of his and another. And I had come up, so he was doing CEOs only. And I had said, there's this whole C-suite underneath the CEOs. And I'm, as somebody who's been a sales and marketer my whole life, because that's what you do when you're producing conferences, you have to think about that all the time.
Sure.
It was an area that fascinated me. And I said, are you interested in launching something along these lines? And he said, no, I'm the CEO guy. I like CEOs. So I said, okay, we're going to, part friendly, and I'm going to go out on my own. And I think I'm going to give this a whirl. That was in 2014, in November of 2014.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that, and I already had been in the industry a couple of years, and I knew people, a lot of CEOs, but also others, and just got on the phone and said, do you think this is a good idea? At that time, 2014, it's hard to believe that only 10 years ago, digital marketing was like the wild, wild west.
Oh, sure.
Nobody was doing digital. I mean, people are doing digital ads, but like I had gone, my first clue that this was needed was that I went to a conference in New York City for very high level marketers in large companies like Southwest and Apple and American Express. And there were maybe 50 or 60 highest level marketers. And so they were doing a lot of panel discussions. And at one point somebody said, so, you've got a $3 million budget, so what's working? And the person said, I have no idea. Wow. I don't know any of this. We're just throwing it up against the wall. Yeah. And I was like, okay, if they don't know, we don't know. So because and a lot of these calls, people were like, well, we're really behind the times. And I was thinking, actually, you're not. If American Express doesn't know what they're spending $3 million on, nobody knows.
We're all learning this together.
So it was a really moment in time where people saw that there was going to be a sea change, and there just wasn't enough information, particular to our industry. And our consumer, as to how that was going to affect and what tools, strategies, tactics people would need to be able to adopt a lot of this new information. So I launched SMASH, the Senior Care Marketing and Sales Summit, along with Peggy Bylas, who came on board pretty early on to help, and Regina Delicio, who was responsible at that time to do all the education. And we just hit the ground running. We had interest right away, and it was small. The first year was 125 people in total. And in the conference industry, you hear that 125 people make a tribe. And if you get a tribe,
yeah, sure,
you can grow from there. And that's exactly what happened. We in our first year, were very lucky to put together a phenomenal advisory board, many of whom have stayed with us all these years. I was very keen on a couple of things. One, I wanted to make sure that we were hearing not just from people in senior living, but from industry experts, because of what I'd heard, that people didn't even know what they were spending their money on. I felt topic expertise was going to be really critical. So 80% of our speakers still really are topic experts or authors or writers, podcasters, like people who really are very, very knowledgeable within whatever they do, whether it's SEO or PPC or now, in this no-click environment, et cetera. Sure. And, but we still keep a nice, big, wide open space for people within the industry, our solution partners who are, I believe, the greatest thought leaders in the industry. They have, I always say to our providers, they have aggregate information over 200 communities that you can't, if you don't engage them in that conversation and try and understand whatever their tool is and how that's working for hundreds of others, you are missing out on a big part of the kind of education that's available at SMASH by people just being able to talk to each other.
Yeah. And real quick, Bailey, I just want to say that's what I love about this is that, the speaking with each other. This is the most openly sharing group with knowledge that you ever come across. Totally. There's no secrets. even if it's with competitors, they're like, this is what we're seeing, it's working. We've thought about this, but this is what happened. And I've always walked away with just, I don't know, with I'd say my bucket full. Just when you see groups coming together and for these better way ideas and these better philosophies, man, it makes everybody keep going in the same direction.
It really does. I always say people, they open the kimono as far as they can at Smash.
Yeah.
People really, because it's very helpful to hear about other people's challenges as well as
Yeah.
success. It's really helpful. Like if you're listening to 5 other people and they're batting their head against the wall over the same thing you are, chances are it hasn't been solved yet. We've had a number of people, groups actually over the years that have gotten together all year long. They call themselves in their self-help groups in sales and marketing and senior living, so that they can talk about challenges as they arise. We have this year, and we'll talk about other things that are going on, but Brooke Saxon Spencer, who runs the sales and marketing, senior living sales and marketing book club, we're hosting that for them this year, 2 days in a row. And, they just got 40, 50 people or 120, but bits and pieces come, 30, 40 people come to every single, she's been doing it for years, and they share with each other through reading a book, like how is that working? It's a sales and marketing book or something that's, closely aligned to that. And, we just try and think of every way at Smash to bring thought leaders, because once you put those people in the room, all boats rise.
Yeah. And even with Brooke's book club, I love how I remember asking her, can I be a part of this? She's like, absolutely. It's just, you can't be, it can't be a commercial time. But the fact that it is an open place where providers and vendors can come together and just share knowledge and just really compare notes and have these better way concepts that is passed along to one another. So I think that's a good, really representation of what happens at Smash is, this thought leadership, everyone comes together to promote these better way strategies.
Yep. And so it's grown from there. Every year we, went out and marketed, and word of mouth got around that this was really the only place. I mean, all the associations do a fantastic job of doing what they do, and they serve all positions, I would say, but with a really, most of them have an operational focus, right? Whether it's executive director, operations, medical, and they touch on sales and marketing, but especially back in 2014, almost nobody touched on sales and marketing at all.
Sure.
And so it was really a space. And again, with the changes that were going on, regardless of the industry you were in, it was really a space and a time and a place where really needed. And I think one thing that's happened as a result of Smash is I'm still very much in touch with the CEO side of the business. And actually Asha is where they're hosting a working group to continue on their outreach to consumers called whereyoulive.matters.org. And it's a not-for-profit part of their organization. And there'll be people at Smash who'll be able to contribute to that working group. We're very excited about that. So, but most don't serve sales and marketing. And so what we've been able to do through up to the CEO, COO, people who are part of this is to, we think, put sales and marketing front and center as, without the people who come to Smash, they don't have an organization. They need everybody and they need everything. Sure. We serve seniors, but at the end of the day, if you don't get your message out and you don't get it right, it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think about that first year, approximately 125 people. I bet the takeaway that when people, left that conference, they were probably just so thankful that they had a group that was just speaking to their challenges and providing some direction. And so I'm kind of curious that from that first to second year, how did that growth continue to pick up?
I think we probably picked up another, at least I don't remember exactly, another 100 people.
I bet.
But it really solidified this idea of a couple of things that we wanted to continue to create, which was an environment that was, for lack of a better word, and you described it earlier, Teflon. I didn't want anyone to have a different colored lanyard. We didn't want an exhibit floor. Yeah. We didn't want anyone to be one thing or another, because in my view, everybody who comes to Smash is a thought leader.
Yeah.
Period. They have something to give and to gain. And it's a little bit like Burning Man, like that. Like we just want everybody to share,
I
So
like that. And that's why you refer to, well, I say the vendors as solution partners.
we never wanted to call them vendors or
Yeah.
exhibitors. What does that say about you? It doesn't
Yeah.
say that what you are is a partner in creating the solutions and thought leadership. So it was that. It was also we wanted to delight and surprise every year. So we've done everything from having pipe cleaner contests to, giving out toys. Now we have Twinkle Tuesday that's
Love it.
embedded into the
Yes.
event, because it's not about having fun at the event. It's about everyone just being open
Yeah.
to not just taking notes or not, to just to be themselves and to really be able to hear everybody and everything going on. And that's, I think, when we hear about what people get the most out of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's both, again, people who participate, the providers who participate, as well as the solution partners, is the openness of ideas. Yes, of course, everybody wants to meet everybody for business. That's great. And so do our providers. They want to find solution partners. All that happens.
Yeah.
But what else happens is this idea that just all in between the sessions chatter. Yeah, we do the sessions, but it's just being able to chit chat. Did you hear that? Did you think of that? Oh, wow, I heard that. What do you think? That is, without a doubt, I sometimes think I could just take all the sessions away and just everybody talk for 3 days.
For sure. I mean, we definitely need the sessions, but the conversations that happen outside the sessions. In fact, I'm sure it's kind of challenging as the conference organizer to get people to get back into the sessions, because there's so many good conversations that are going on outside of those sessions, like during the networking time.
Here's the thing. People end up being and talking with whom and when they feel that need. So believe me, the rooms are always, in my view, are always full. We probably don't even have enough seats if everyone did want to sit down. So, it works out. But, it's an incredible industry. I feel so honored to have, really stumbled across it when I went to Lincoln Healthcare, and immediately when I started working there. And again, I'd been doing this work for a long time. I was like, this is a great industry. I loved it. I love the people. I love the passion. And in sales and marketing, I have found my tribe.
Yeah.
There isn't a day I don't wake up and, trying again, continue to think about delighting and surprising and teaching. There's so much to be learned out there, that's new, that's different. And that's been the case every year.
Oh, sure. And again, you said the word tribe, and I love that, because I feel like this is a group that, as long as you have the right intentions, they will bring you in and help guide you. And in return, you want to bring some, better way ideas too. So it's always iron sharpens iron. Going back to the conference side, you mentioned just this place where people come together. Is that why there's no booths, but really more of the networking kiosks in the areas where people come together instead of a traditional trade show booth?
Yeah, I had grown up in the trade show world. And one of the things I saw by 2014 in my own view, and having worked again for Lincoln and some other conference companies that were not trade show companies, is that I felt once the internet had really taken hold, that there would be a lot less reason. And this is not to put any of the associations down. Again, they do a great job at what they do. And in that case, trade shows work, to a degree. But I felt that this educationally focused smaller conference was really, really important. But it's really important that we have solution partners, because they help us put the conference on. So, so we did a couple of things. And again, I take no credit. Lincoln had this, and I thought it a great idea when I saw it. They also did not have an exhibit floor, and they just made basically activation areas where people could find other people. And when we were smaller, it was just the round kiosk tables. And as we grew, we had to find bigger ways to be able to let people, find a way where people can sit down and chat. So that was a birth of the networking lounge. And we did, again, a lot of things we do 1 year, and we love our solution partners because they trust us. They've been with us a long time, where they've heard about us, and we're like, hey, we're going to try something new. We have no idea if anyone's going to show up, but are you in? And it works. You're going to be, it's going to work. We'll do it next year. But if it doesn't, everyone's like, try it. Go ahead. Try it. So.
And it is a two-way conversation. As someone who's been there, quite a few years on the solution partner side, it is a back and forth of you saying, we're thinking about this. And we, as a solution partner, is like, well, can we try that? I'm like, sure. we don't know if it's going to work or not, but it is a back and forth. And I always appreciate that concept of like working together and just trying to continue to find those better way strategies just to connect as a group.
Yeah, absolutely. And that again, that has come a lot through trial and error, and also through, I go back to our unbelievable advisory board. So we're running along. We don't have an exhibit floor. We have these kiosks. Not everybody. So one of the things we have, and some providers don't know, but I know all our solution partners, is that we limit the amount of sponsors that can participate based on a ratio. And the reason we do that is so that it is very comfortable. And we limit them by category. So not only do the solution partners get the benefit of not having to have everybody in one category and, and having to feel that overpressure of, being competitive. So that way they can relax and be themselves and the thought leaders they are. And our providers don't have to feel as though they're just being inundated and chased.
Sure.
Right? So, and that's not anyone's fault. It's just when you don't have that proper ratio, it really can feel that way. So that was conceptually a really important thing. So as we began to create activation areas over time, these things, began to take hold and work for those that did, and some didn't, and they fell by the wayside. So,
live and learn, right? Continue to grow and really that theory of skate to where the puck's going. And I feel like y'all have done a great job with that.
Thank you. We have some new things this year, so I'm excited.
Well, that was a great segue. Thank you so much, Bailey. So that's what I was going to take to the conversation next is, this upcoming conference in October. So is there anything new that you're excited to announce or promote? What's going on this year that really sparks your interest?
So you and I spoke just for a couple of minutes before we started the podcast, and I was talking about the no-click environment, which, when the board and the education team met in January, it was starting to be something like everyone knew about AI, but no one was really thinking about it in terms of how it was going to affect. And when I say no, and I'm talking about not just senior living, I'm in the sales and marketing world outside of it as well, because I'm looking for speakers, right?
It just wasn't a conversation topic at that time.
And then by 3 months after that, 60% of search. Imagine this. Everyone was Google searching for you, and all of your marketing plan for Google searches and clicks, right? Like that essentially is how people assumed people started their journey, right?
Yeah.
That's not 60% of people no longer start their journey that way. They start their journey through Gemini, ChatGPT, Microsoft environment, any you name the AI engine, and they're using that first. And when you're in those AI engines, they are no-click environments, pretty much. Sometimes they'll say, hey, do you want me to show you a couple of places where you can click? Often the click doesn't even go through, but it is where people are doing the most intensive part of their research. So when they hop out of that and toggle over to the click environment because they've seen something or the AI has told them, these are the 3 things you should look at. Now that we've had this long conversation about, let's say, seniors housing for your mom or whatever that might look like, it will suggest often, here's some things you need to think about, whether it's going to a place for mom and looking, or whether it's going direct to 5 places that are close by, because that's what's been described in the conversation. Once they hop out of that and go to the click environment, one of the things that everybody's working on right now is to try and be able to ascertain that it's a click from this very high intent conversation, right? By the time they finish that conversation and head over, they're as warm a lead as you're ever going to see, right? So that is a game changer. We're doing a tremendous amount on AI this year, so I'm very excited about that. Last year, like many industries and organizations, we all did a lot of 30,000 foot view. Here's AI. Here's what it could do, might do, it's kind of doing. And one of the things that when we were talking to the board this year, I really wanted to be able to bring it down. We have a lot that's banked into a lot of the sessions because everyone's using AI for a lot of different things. So that's one piece of it. But the biggest piece is we created 4 sessions called AI in Action in Senior Living. And so these 4 sessions are 4 different case studies about how people are moving through the funnel and how different AI solutions or tactics or technologies or strategies can help drive that. And it's all based on case studies in senior living and how those are being solved and resolved strategically through AI, through senior living solution partners or things that people can access, whether they're, it's a senior living solution partner or not. And it's being moderated by Brian Reynolds, who was on our board for years.
He's a great, he's going to do awesome. I'm a big fan of his.
Brilliant. He's
such a great guy.
Smartest guys in I know. And he ran 3 buildings in Ohio, retirement communities. And when he first came on the board, I thought, it doesn't run that many communities. He was the smartest digital marketer on our board, bar none. Everybody asked him every digital question because that was his thing. And so anyway, I asked him to moderate this and moderate all 4. And so he and I have worked together for this year in trying to make these happen. And so we're really excited about AI in action. That's brand new, and we'll probably keep it going. If it goes well and it's well attended, because it's going to shift for the next few years. That's going to be a shapeshifter. It was kind of by default, not by design, but again, with AI, I think data becomes more important. And I was able to put together 3 sessions that I think are going to be really eye-opening in terms of what are consumers, the boomer and senior consumer looking for when they're consuming other media. Right. So I have Ellen Thurston from the Gannett Media Group. They serve over 230 million people, 67% of which are all over 65, boomers and up. And so they've got a tremendous amount of research on consumer intent, particularly for high intent purchases. And I think a lot of that data will really help marketers think through what their messaging needs to be and how that older consumer, the people that are not quite old enough necessarily yet to go in, but they're maybe headed towards independent living, and how they're consuming media, what they're looking at, how they're interacting with it. We also have Gina Bayek, who's been in our industry for a long, long time and moved over to AOL.com. And I remember I called her earlier this year and I said, AOL, does that even still exist? And really, does that even exist? And she said, oh my God, does it not only exist? It is, I have the number here. They have 35 million people still on AOL.com and who pay them.
That blows my mind.
Monthly fee. And they're all over, the majority over 65 and older. And she said, my job here isn't to just look at the seniors industry, but I had called her about, and I said, would you come and, take a look at, because she's a data hound and, has that head. And she's created a great session on just, again, what does that consumer look like when they're interfacing with their websites, and all of the things that will hopefully give some directionals for marketers. And I think those 2 alone will be phenomenal in terms of consumer psychology, demographic, consumer intent, and what that looks like. And we have NICMAP as well coming this year, which they've come on and off over the years, but they do a great job telling us just about markets, demographics in those markets, buildings, the things that, again, on the ground, marketers really need to know what's going on in their areas. So that data piece we think is really important. And we're talking a lot about stories in every which way. We talked a little bit, again, right before we got started, about our keynotes. Matt Paxton is joining us again. He is a wonderful speaker, but he'll be talking about really how to get people comfortable with the idea of moving on and moving away from with their memories away from their old, whether it's their home or wherever they're living now. And he's done a great job with that before, and he's now hosting a new show and has written a great book. And so we're excited about having Matt. Also, Brooke Sellis, who wrote a book called Conversations That Matter. She's going to be really focused on conversations in social media. And it sounds like, I know all about social media. Actually, with this no-click environment that we just talked about, social media is going to be a game changer, because you're not going right to the click. And so if you're not actually having conversations with anybody who's interacting with you, you're probably not going to be seen by the no-click algorithms, and that really becomes important. I don't want to get into too much technical detail, but she's phenomenal and high energy speaker and just has a million different messages. And we also are going to finish up our keynotes with Melissa Fritz, who actually started, who was in sales in senior living, and came up with an idea for a documentary series on senior living, and PBS picked it up, and it's been on PBS last year, and she was looking to expand that and do some more in that world. And so she'll be telling us about how stories drive success, at the end of the day. And we all know that, in this industry, like no one are better communicators, I think, and discovery people than certainly senior living salespeople. But this is going to become even more important in this new this brave new digital world, whatever that's going to look like in AI.
Whatever that's going to look like. I love that. There's so much to unpack here, Bailey. So I thought about what you mentioned this year, which is AI in action. I think last year was AI, and this year it's like, okay, we think we have our footing here, and how do we really leverage this instead of it just being a buzzword? How can we actually use this tool? And so I'm so excited you had the inaction part and the stories part. That's so important. That's people remember stories. Stories are what separates you. And so I'm so glad you're bringing that into the conversation, because I think far too often we kind of get into our own echo chamber of what's working, what's not. And you mentioned this at the beginning. It's good to have people outside of the industry to really have different perspectives, and we can learn from one another and continue to take these best practices and pull it into this world. So I'm so glad that you highlighted this and what that approach looks like. So I'm really excited. I've there was a video from last year that was created. I know you all promoted it, but it's the best way to show what Smash is all about. How people are coming together, and so we'll make sure that's in the show notes. That video clip. So this is really amazing stuff. What are there any changes from last year to this year that people can expect? Is it going to be kind of the same agenda? What's your feedback on that front?
Well, our agenda is always, we don't theme. That's why I highlighted some things that have kind of ended up being themed, because I was able to find a grouping around data. And I just thought that I'm a data hound too. So, learning more about how people are interacting with all this is great, and AI in action, all that. But, we never miss making sure that we have enough for our sales leaders. So we always have a full track on sales strategy and management, marketing, general marketing strategy and management that includes everything from SEO to content to, I go on, clicks, PPC, how best to be looking at that now. We try and leave no stone unturned there. We have a post-acute track. We are doing some sessions on post-acute. We always do referral marketing and value-based care selling and things like that. And we also look at content marketing always as part of what we do, and digital and data marketing. So all of that is always included, and every session is always brand new, because we go out and we look to see what the future is going to hold, not what the future has brought us.
For sure.
And that's a commitment we make. And then we have the usual fun, Cocktail Connections and Twinkle Tuesday, and our Smash Bash reception, and our welcome for newcomers breakfast. Our job is always to delight and surprise. So I can't give away every secret that we're
well, I'll say this. The only problem, there's just not enough time. It's the busiest, I'd say 3 or 4 days of the year for me. Like from the morning to a night, you're going to be in action. You're going to be connecting with people, having conversations, presenting, listening. It is nonstop. And one thing I want to highlight on the Twinkle Tuesday, it's beyond like just wearing a sparkly jacket. Or a sparkly hat, whatever that is. It actually brings the people together, and it's a unique cheering going time, and it's this welcoming moment. So just so much stuff like that. I think it's just this, it goes back to the word you said earlier, which is tribe. And so thank you for being a part of this conversation. Thank you for all of the efforts with Smash. I get to interact a lot with Peggy, so I just appreciate all the effort there on that front. And by all of us coming together, it does create this better future. It helps us further connect where people are in the future. And again, like you said at the beginning, which is yeah, it's 2025 now, but we're thinking about 2026, 2027, and we don't know what's going to be in the future. Things are happening so fast, but these conversations help prepare us for this change, whatever that change looks like. So, thank you for
Absolutely.
providing us a community where we do come together and we can, make an impact, because that's what we really want to do. So, uh, Bailey, where can people find you if they want to learn more, whether it's about Smash or
They
about
can
you?
go to if you just type in Smash, you'll probably, if you just Google Smash,
For
it'll
sure.
probably pop up. Not because we're great at our meta tags, but because there's not that many things called Smash. But it's the Senior Care Marketing and Sales Summit, and you can always find just by putting that in Google, and you'll find our website, and there's all the information that you need there. We are almost sold out. We are sold out on solution partners, but we're almost sold out on providers. So if you're
Yes.
planning on
You got to act now.
be soon,
Yes.
so that you don't miss out this year.
You don't want to
Yeah,
miss
no,
out. I've heard it
it's going
many
to be a
times.
great
People,
event this year.
I will tell you this. There's so many times I ask somebody, are you going to be at Smash? Like, oh, I waited too late. So I'm going to echo probably a little bit more forcefully than you did. You need to act now if you want to be a part of this. So, and can people find Smash on LinkedIn as well, so they can follow
Yes,
the conference?
they sure can. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. And we'll make sure we link that. Great.
That's great. All right.
Bailey,
Well,
thank you so much. I appreciate this.
so much, Larry. I really appreciate it. Opportunity to talk about what we're doing this year. We're always, we love bringing the community together. It really is a community, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be really interesting. It's a whole new world out there. So
it's a whole new world.
to talk about it.
And I'll say this: we didn't even talk about this. It's amazing how many friendships are created from this event. So again, I'll say thank you to you and your team for that as well, of bringing people together, and those business connections end up being good friends. So thank you for that. Bailey, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas in October.
Yeah, feels like tomorrow. We'll see you soon.
That's right. All right. Thanks, Bailey.
Thanks so much. Take good care.
What a great conversation. Thanks to Bailey for explaining the evolution of Smash and highlighting what makes this community so powerful. Before we wrap up, here are a few notes I took during this conversation. First, prioritize community learning. Surround yourself with peers, solution partners, and thought leaders who are willing to share their wins and challenges. Second, experiment with new strategies. Like Smash has grown by trying new formats, don't be afraid to test and iterate in your marketing. And third, prepare for the no-click, AI-driven future. Focus on storytelling, data, and visibility within AI environments. Thanks again to Bailey Beeken for sharing and encouraging us today, and I hope to connect with the community at Smash in October. And until next time, let's go create some meaningful connections.